Thank you, Jay. Grace, can you go back to the slides, please? Thank you, Grace. The annual report template, as I think most folks know, we collect SETI information. So I don't know, Grace demoed that in this session, the previous session, but SETI information is collected based on category 1, 2, and 3, and we have those certifications are required for category 1, 2, and 3, and for SETI category 4, there's no certification required. The annual reporting template was actually updated because we were notified from some jurisdictions that they may have borrower or investee that did not select the subcategory under the demographic data for demographic information for category 1. We just want to let jurisdictions know that we updated the template. So if you do have a borrower that executed a cert, meaning that they certified but did not select a demo or subcategory, you have an option on the template to select the borrower certified but did not select the demographic data, and you can still use that to count your transaction as SETI. Grace, I don't know if you demo that, but we can maybe show folks at the end if that helps a little bit. Crystal has a question. Go ahead, Crystal.
Thank you, Mayma. On a good question that came up on number 4. If
the CDFI investment area.
Correct. So
if you wait 1 second to the next slide, it might answer your question.
Okay. Well, okay, it's on regarding number 2.
Yes.
No, number 3.
Yes, ma'am.
So if they don't certify to 3, but 3 is true, can we mark 4? Can we use their future location if it's going to be in a CDFI area if they won't certify?
So if the jurisdiction falls into category 4, you can select category 4 that meet that SETI cert, and you don't need a certification for that. You just need to verify the address. So that will work as long as it meets the address falls into the CDFI investment area map.
So they give us the future address. We can use that.
If that address is located. But please send out questions. I just want to make sure I run it by the policy team before I give you any wrong information.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Crystal. Yeah, send that question before you fill out your template. I want to make sure I run it by my team. Any other questions, Crystal? Anybody else? Well, Crystal, I was assuming you were asking about the next slide, which is where we updated SFPCI FAQ regarding the CDFI investment area map. As you guys know, we updated to align with the updated published investment area map that was updated by the CDFI in early January 2023. So if you have SFPCI supported transactions that closed on or before December 31st, 2023, jurisdiction can document transactions as supporting SETI-owned business using either the updated list or the previously issued list. Please note for transactions that were completed on after January 1st, 2024, please use the updated list. The updated list should be labeled 2022. So that should be also referenced in the FAQ, and we have a link to the FAQ at the end of this slide. Any questions on the CDFI? Go ahead.
This is Crystal from Colorado. I got another question on this one. So this was awesome. Thank you so much. And I've been looking at this ever since you guys announced it. I appreciate it. There is an option on CDFI. So all of our 2023 transactions, there's an option on the map to hit 2015 and 2020. Can we select both of those? And if it turns green, screenshot it?
You have to either use one or another, so you can decide which one is best for you.
So if
any
one
transaction that closed on or before December 31st, 2023.
Correct. So if one loan is green in 2015 and another loan is green in 2020, it doesn't matter. We can just count whichever one's green.
I believe so, but again, maybe you want to send that in to me and James, and we can further clarify. But I think we're allowing flexibility. You just have to be consistent. So either one you use, I don't think we are specific about if you use one transaction or another transaction. But again, I think that's a question worth clarifying if you need clarification on it.
Perfect. Thank you.
So just to clarify, for 2023, you will use the any transaction that closed after January 2024, you will use the updated map. I think I said the wrong date. Any other questions on this slide? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Raisa. She's going to try to run us through a couple of slides. We think all of these slides are useful. We will make them available for you. Again, I know this is, we're running out of time soon, but we will stay on the phone, on the Zoom, if you have additional questions. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jay and Grace. Raisa, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I'm going to try to fly through these. So we have our first slide here on who is the provider. So the main thing that I want to get across here is that if a jurisdiction had expended transactions completed on the annual report template for 2022, the provider data will be pre-populated. So even though it's pre-populated, you will be able to make edits to that pre-populated provider data on the template. Okay, so we're not going to go through each of these, but I want to call out specifically for companion loan transactions in the loan participation program. So for 2023 reporting, the provider in the companion loan or a direct loan structure should be the lender that provided the private capital at risk. So for those LPPs with companion or direct loan structures, if the lender of the private capital was not reported as a provider in prior reporting, then the jurisdiction should update that provider information to reflect the lender that is providing the private capital. I also want to highlight the hybrid program. So for reporting purposes, hybrid program transactions are going to be treated as equity programs and should be reported on the equity tab. So the provider for hybrid transactions is going to be based on the equity program. So if your program is a direct hybrid program, then you would follow the provider definition here for direct investment programs. And if your program is a funds program, you would follow the definition for a fund investment program. Okay, next slide, please.
A quick question here. I'm sorry. This is Sam from New Jersey. Just going back to the fund investment program, could you please confirm that the provider is the management company and not the, fund vehicle that's going to receive SSBCI funds?
Carl, do you want to step in on that one?
Yep, sorry about that. I think it's appropriate to put the fund partnership and not the management company.
Right.
I know there's some confusion about the regulatory ID where we do ask
Right.
for the fund management company. So let us work on that issue. But as far as the provider, it should be the venture capital fund partnership.
The vehicle itself, not the company. Okay.
Yeah, because all the other responses you'll provide are with respect to the fund partnership.
Yeah, because we're currently working with one of our fund managers right now. And as you mentioned, the SEC registration number, I'm not sure the vehicle has that at the moment. So we'll get back to them. Thank you very much.
They won't be a registered advisor, but the private placement of LP interest should be, filed with the SEC.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Carl. Next slide. Okay, so for SSBCI allocated funds expended, we want to highlight again that on the annual report is just going to be expended transactions or expended 171s, not obligations, no transfers, no admin. So under SSBCI allocated funds expended, we're only looking to capture the amount of SSBCI funds. So again, not going to go through all of these, but I do want to reiterate what Grace showed earlier when it comes to loan guarantees and collateral support transactions on the template. So we are looking here for the set aside amount. So if a jurisdiction is guaranteeing a loan or providing collateral support for 50% of a loan, however, it only sets aside 10% of that 50%, then you would report in this field only the dollar amount of that set aside amount under SSBCI allocated funds expended. Okay, next slide. slide. All right, concurrent private financing. It's the dollar amount of any private financing that was caused by or resulted from the SSBCI supported loan or investment that occurred at or around the same time as the SSBCI supported loan. So what should be included under concurrent private financing is, like I just mentioned, any other private financing caused by or resulted from SSBCI and at or around the same time. This can also include borrower's equity, and it can also include a seller's note, for example. So what do we not want to include under concurrent private financing? That's going to be any SSBCI funds. We don't want that reported under concurrent private financing. We do not want the private capital at risk in the SSBCI supported transaction to be reported under concurrent private financing. And we don't want additional government funds that are not in the SSBCI supported transaction to be reported under concurrent private financing. And hopefully this is something that you guys know, but I'll just repeat it. Any amount that is included under concurrent private financing should not be included in the loan or investment transaction amount. Okay, next slide, please. Subsequent private financing is considered to be caused by or resulting from the initial SSBCI. SSBCI supported financing when such financing increases the current and future creditworthiness of a business. Okay, so also as a reminder, subsequent private financing is limited to LPPs and equity programs, equity investments. And also as a reminder, per the national compliance standards, jurisdictions should maintain adequate supporting documentation for subsequent private financing for those LPPs or equity investments. All right, next slide, please. On the next slide, we have some template tips. So in reference to our last slide with subsequent private financing, we just want to reiterate that the subsequent private financing is going to go on the loan and investment performance tab. What we don't want to see is subsequent private financing being added as a new transaction. Okay, so for the next tip, we have double counting of jobs. There are situations in which a jurisdiction has multiple SSBCI supported loans or investments to the same borrower or investee. So we want to document that as a separate transaction, but we want to ensure that the expected jobs created and jobs retained numbers are not double counted. So only report the change in those values for businesses reporting multiple SSBCI supported loans or investments. And so there's also a possibility of double counting private capital at risk. So as an example, for lender A to A refinancing for loans that have not termed out, report only the increase in funding or the delta for both the loan transaction amount and SSBCI allocated funds expended. And as the previous tip suggests, also please be sure not to over-report or double count the jobs data. All right, and the last one on the slide, this tip is just a reminder to ensure SSBCI gets an accurate number regarding the investment transaction amount. So please ensure your supporting documentation aligns with what is reported on the annual report. Okay, next slide, Grace. See if I can make it to the last minute. EPCOC transaction. So what we want to see on the annual report for EPCOC transactions under business name is to include both the EPC and the OC and use a slash to separate the two, as you can see in the screenshot below. So if there are multiple OCs, you can put the name of the OC that is a primary beneficiary. And I also want to say here that for all other business data elements on the annual report for EPCOC transactions, please input information for the OC. So in this example on the screenshot, that business EIN is in reference to Karen's apiary, as well as the business street address, because that is the OC. Okay, so I want to circle back here on companion loans, what we talked about earlier on the lender that provides the private capital at risk. But I also want to say here that all the other loan terms on the annual report should be the terms of the SSBCI loan. Okay, and lastly, we've received some questions regarding what to report for the maximum interest rate. So jurisdictions should report the interest rate at the time of loan closing. And this also applies to loans with adjustable rates or loans with interest rates that are tied to an index. Okay, that's all for me. Passing it back to Mayma. Thank you.
Thank you, Raisa. Once you've submitted your annual report, we will perform data validation. The key is we're asking for folks to submit early as possible. And while you're completing, if you run into any issues, please ping us early so we can make sure we support you. It will be better if we're not doing it at the last minute. We will have follow-up questions once we receive your data, and we likely will, some cases we will have to do some cleanup. So we ask if you can please make yourself available. We will also sample some transactions. So like Raisa said, please make sure your documentation are available to support any sampling, and please make sure they're in accordance with the national compliance standards. And we will publish final summary of this data sometime in 2024. We can move on to the next slide, please, Grace. These are some of the resources we want to highlight. I think provider resources we want to highlight. We included this in our previous slide. Please know this is not comprehensive, but we would help you reference this as you complete your template. Please also make sure you're not using any abbreviation for provider information, no shorthand, and please make sure, please review any typo before submitting your report, just to prevent data validation. We can move on to the next slide. As we've highlighted throughout this presentation by me, Jay, and we want to just remind everybody the portal will open tomorrow, and you will have until April 1st to submit your annual report, and you have until 11:59 p.m. on April 1st. If you have any issues with the portal, like Jake said, any access issue, please reach out to us early so we can make sure we resolve any issues prior to the deadline. Can we move on to the next slide, please, Grace? These are the slides we referenced throughout this, resources we referenced throughout this discussion. Again, the updated FAQ can be referenced here at the fourth link, and all of these are linked. We also have our mailbox address, mailbox information here. We ask, so please reach out to us. I think Crystal can attest. We've had some couple of sessions with her where we were playing some good IT people. I know we help her, but just let us know if you need to jump on a call to any assistance in you completing your report. The earlier, the better for us. So thank you for that. In the interest of time, we will stop and open up the floor. All of the examples that Grace illustrated are included at the end of this deck. We also have some really great Q&A we want you to reference. And if you have any questions on those Q&As, please reach out to us anytime. I will stop talking, and please feel free to come off mute if you have any questions. Thank you so much for your time. I know we went over a little bit in this time, but we will continue to increase these meetings, so hopefully we'll get to 2 hours eventually. So thank you so much, everybody. Please come off mute if you have any questions. Thank you, Grace, Raisa, and Jay. And thank you, Carl.
Sorry.
Allison, please go ahead.
This is Pennsylvania. I have a quick question on double reporting employees. Does that go for if we reported the business in 2022 and we need to report them again in 2023, we would just leave the employee numbers blank?
Yes, unless there's changes from 2022 to 2023. So if there's increase in FTEs, in employee, you can make those changes. You will only report the delta.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Allison.
Hey, hi again. This is Sam from New Jersey. I just wanted to.
Allison, that's also, just remember, that's for new transactions. If that business is receiving a new transaction, and just make sure if a business is receiving 2 SSBCI supported transactions, they have to be for different business purposes.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, Sam. Samuel, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just going back to payments made to providers for fund services to portfolio companies. Could you please confirm that that's only going to be reported on the annual reporting to Treasury and not required for quarterly reporting?
Is your question about the 171, Samuel?
Yes, the reporting of 171, that goes only on the annual reporting, right?
On the annual, and if you do have 171 when you come in for your disbursement, you do have to report that, but it's only annual and disbursement if you have that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, Sam, the 171 is already included in the obligated amount reported on the quarterly.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Okay, I will wait here for a couple more minutes if you have any questions. If you don't, feel free to drop.
Hi,
And if you do
Mima.
have questions, please shine. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
It's
Good.
Jamie from Montana. So I wanted
Hey,
to
Jamie.
go back to the question about having the same business receive two different loans through the program. Are we still reporting everything else twice, basically? I know if the number of jobs hasn't changed, we're to leave that blank, but are we reporting twice, like on SETI and demographics and everything else?
Yes, if it's a steady business, yes.
Okay, perfect.
If it's a steady, if the transaction fall under the steady category, 1, 2, or 3, or 4.
Okay. And can I ask another question?
Same.
So
Are you
if,
trying to just get your answer to all the questions you submitted? I haven't answered yet.
no, these are actually my new ones that I came up with after I submitted my other questions. If, if a business has not yet opened, is it okay to leave that cell blank?
Wouldn't it be an address on the application? I think we got that question. I think, wouldn't it be an address on the application when they submit the loan? Is that what you're asking?
I'm just asking for the year the business opened. Is it okay just to?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can leave that blank. I'm thinking about your other question.
Oh,
you can leave-
okay. Okay, thank you.
I think that's what the reporting guidance has, so I will reference the reporting guidance. If I'm incorrect, I'll clarify in my other responses to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Feel free to come off mute, and if you are talking, you might be double muted. And Jamie, business, just as a reminder, the business performance information can be updated annually. And those are the tabs, the last two tabs that Grace illustrated. And it's only need to be reported if it's available.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to get folks one more minute. Again, thanks for staying over. Really appreciate it. And again, the reporting window will open tomorrow. Like Jay said, if there are any access issues, please try to reach out to us sooner, so we'll make sure we resolve any access issues.